right? Hi, how are you guys? Welcome to the Homestaging Talk Live with me, Amy Powers, the podcast where we are able to bring you the latest insights and trends in the world of homestaging, design, and real estate. I'm your host, Amy Powers, today, president of the International Association of Homestaging Professionals, and I have been designing short-term rentals since 2019. It's something I'm very passionate about. It's one of my favorite topics. And you may have even taken my course or heard me talk at one of our conferences or on another podcast. But today, I am so honored to have two very special guests joining us, Mitch Bage and Luis Santiago. Got to make sure you say their names right. The dynamic duo behind, another name, Maison de Champagne.
No.
Campaign.
Maison de Campagne.
The
Campagne.
Campagne. Yes.
Campagne.
It's a common.
It has very French, so you have to say it properly. Which is an interior design firm. It sounds like an interior design firm too, a very bougie interior design firm, and a homestaging company in the beautiful coastal area of Galveston, Texas. And Luis is a real estate agent as well, adding a whole nother level to their expertise and services. And they are here today to share their experience with us as they have added the adventure of short-term rental design to their portfolio, existing services. So welcome, Mitchell and Luis. How are you today?
Great. We're doing great.
Doing good. Thank you for having us. Thank you for the invite.
We're prepping for our coastal freeze to hit. So much like the rest of the country. I mean, I see posts all day where people are saying, "Oh, we're having to stage in 8 feet of snow," but thankfully we don't have that. But we can handle hurricanes. We just don't like.
We don't like cold. Nope.
I know. I don't either. I agree with that. So to kick things off, can you both give our viewers a brief overview of your company? I'm not going to try and say it again, just in case.
Let's go with
and what's your unique selling point, and who is your ideal client?
Yeah, sure.
So we use MDC. It's easier if we
It is.
keep to that. But yeah.
Now you tell me. MDC.
It does add a little bit of a conversation starter for us whenever everyone always asks about the name. But we started our company in 2018. We're in the greater Houston area, so we're very proud of the fact that we get to work with many diverse range of homes here in the Houston and Galveston area. We work from historical Victorian homes, we do traditional residences, craftsman style cottages, and of course our coastal bungalows that we just love to do. So we've become really experts in adapting our styling to suit, the unique features of each property. So we see kind of like as a creative challenge. So we make sure that every home that we work on stands out on its own, based on its own character and style. So what sets us apart is really our commitment to tailoring our services. We don't believe in a one-size-fits-all approach to staging. So each project gets our full attention, from color palettes to whatever furniture we want to place inside. Our goal is to really create a memorable and personalized experience for our clients and for all the potential buyers that walk the property. So one thing that we really proud of is the fact that, like I said, we treat every home with the same level of care regardless of its price. So quality is non-negotiable for us. We want to make sure that every property, no matter its market value, benefits from our meticulous attention to detail. It's about maximizing the potential and not, so that's kind of like, for us, that's kind of like what sets us apart. It's not just about staging. We also create a genuine partnership with our clients.
Right.
I love that.
And then moving into short-term, mid-term rentals, we added that because we are based in Galveston. It's considered a destination city. We have countless attractions that draw people from near and far. Our cruise port is now, I think it's number 4 in the U.S., just behind like New York and then Florida. So it has gradually increased over time, and it's being considered that within the next 10 years, it may be the second or first major port for cruise lines. So we have new ports that were built for Royal Caribbean. Carnival is building one. We just got notified that a European-based cruise liner, I think it's a more luxury cruise liner, they are now going to start sailing out of Galveston. Princess Cruises, and then Disney Cruises.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so that's going to attract all those cruise lines have employees that need places to live. That sounds like a boom is about to happen there.
Well, it's been happening over the last few years, so that's why STRs has become such a big market for us here.
And then for us going into short-term rentals, we thought, the best way to service our clients is to know the ins and outs of an STR. So we actually own our own STR and manage it ourselves. So we wanted to know the ins and outs. How do clients come into the space? What are their main goals for, our rental, our avatar?
Those are great.
Stay at our space, and we actually have countless people that will come in a day or two before or stay a day or two after their cruises, and so that made a huge jump in vacant. So, just knowing those things, we knew that there is a definite, reason for us to add that to our offerings, and so it's only worked out great for us. It's extremely locally. We also go out of state as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. You have like a little empire there. Actually, it sounds like some potential for you guys.
Yeah.
So let's talk about we actually kind of touched base on it already a little bit, but the topic of short-term rental, I call it STR. If you want to MDC it, shorten it a little bit, STR design. How did you decide? And you may have already answered this a little bit in your last, the last bit, but how did you decide to add this service to your portfolio? Which I think you might have touched on that. And what challenges in adding that, if you had any, did you face during that transition?
Yeah. So what initially started it, we have a close friend, another realtor. She actually came in and said, hey, I have some STRs. I'm really wanting to expand that. And so, we assisted her. We had a couple of real estate agents reach out to us and say, hey, we know you do interior design. I've got, some investment clients that are really looking to have it turnkey because they're either from California or they're in the Dallas area and they have no time to source and design a space and have it functional in a quick turnaround. So we said, well, absolutely, we can do that. We do interior design projects for clients all day long. We have a warehouse here in Galveston for all of our staging. So we decided to branch out and to go into that short-term rental. And we really did it in a sense that we wanted it to be a nice, easy way. They're essentially let's answer every question there is. We had a very simple pricing structure, and it doesn't leave anything to the imagination. So our clients truly love that aspect.
Yeah. So we have been doing these essentially since the beginning. We've been working on these vacation rentals, but mostly under the interior design umbrella, which, it can be quite different doing STRs versus a design project for a home. So we were very attracted to the idea of kind of limiting the owner input a little bit, and creating a service that would allow us to have a little bit more of creative freedom. So by rolling out this exclusive service for STRs, yes, we still kind of have a design phase in it where we do gather input from the owner, but ultimately we have a lot more creative control over the results. So that's something that really attracted us to it. And in 2020, actually with the COVID and with
Yeah.
the pandemic. That's actually when we noticed the shifting market even more because, you know, a lot of out-of-state investors were buying properties here in Galveston, and I would say like 4 out of 5 wanted to buy furnished so that they could list it as a short-term rental, as an STR. So that's kind of like what parlayed us into rolling out with our services. And, you know, struggles, you know, pricing, like trying to get that sweet spot where we're providing value, but we're not killing ourselves because we're a small team.
We're still killing ourselves.
Yeah, we still kill, but we have to make it worth our, you know, worth it. So
Yes.
So yeah, kind of like the logistics of it all. It's more of the struggle to kind of go it seamless, you know, with a lot of these investors or a lot of new builds. There's a lot of delays. There's many moving parts that change quickly. So that's, I think, the struggle with the rolling out.
Yeah. Yeah, I faced some of those similar struggle pricing too. I had an embarrassing low price. I'm not even gonna tell you on camera, off camera maybe. It was embarrassing low, and I actually talk about it in my class. But I learned that I was worth it.
Yep.
And now my prices, I won't say they're the most expensive, but they're definitely not the cheapest anymore. So I have learned to create that value as well. That's important for whatever business you're doing, home staging, the design, short-term rental. That's wise. I'm glad you were able to be fluid and maneuver that for your profitability, because at the end of the day, we're not doing this to pat ourselves on the back. We're doing it to
and that's one thing
get on the nice sofa that we're paying for in our home and have that quality of life that you're always talking about as well.
The amount of work that goes into it, you know, until you start doing it day in and day out, you really don't know. So that's I say like continuously tweaking our contract and tweaking our, you know, our clauses because we find ourselves going above and beyond. And I know Mitch likes, like I said, perfection and quality. And like sometimes I'm always like, oh, you're doing too much. We need to charge more. But that's just part of the process. And once you find that sweet spot, then it'll be easier.
Well, and I know Jonathan H. Miller, he shares this too. It's better to over give than to under give. So it helps you get the referrals for that next job that you can charge more for.
Referrals.
Yeah, referrals. Once you get through the door, like referrals will just come in. And
I mean, for STR, we're probably like 50 to 75% based on referrals.
And then we, you know, because we're a smaller team, we're more boutique staging, and be a little bit more selective with the projects. So we have also put a criteria in place of what kind of projects we take on.
Yeah. Nice. So, that's smart.
Well, and you know, a lot of people will say like, oh, you should never turn business away, but I want a great relationship with my client. So you know, money isn't worth everything. My sanity at the end of the day is worth the most. We are actually married, so you know, working together.
Each other.
Yeah, so we don't want to create home tension. So part of that is making sure that we balance our like home life to work life.
And y'all model that so nicely. I love seeing that with you guys. It's very inspirational.
Well, I mean, it wasn't easy. So everyone has their process, and you know, it progresses and you perfect. We're always ever changing things, you know, get on each other's nerves, and but you know, back to the STR approach, you know, not every client is the ideal client, and everyone should know that. Being an entrepreneur and owning your own business, just because, you know, they're paying the bills doesn't mean that it's the best situation for you when it comes to a client. So with our approach and our pricing structure, you know, it automatically weeds out clients that we know are not in it, you know, for the true purpose that we're here to serve. So, you know, if they balk about pricing, it's just, you know, I'm so sorry, you know, unfortunately, you know, there's nothing that we can do beyond the pricing that we're providing.
Right.
You know, it's okay. It's okay if we don't get every job. We're okay with that. But what I won't do is I won't reduce my pricing and allow it to suffer, because what happens is my mentality changes and I'm like, well, I'm doing this so much cheaper. And I get upset at the project or upset with who I'm working with because I feel like I'm being undervalued. So I just don't do it out the gate.
Yeah, and that our dynamic, because we work, so we have to keep that very clear, and it's
compartmentalized.
Yeah.
But there's no line, personal and business. So it's
well, I couldn't imagine that scenario for me. That would be a crazy house for sure. So I totally respect the fact that you have been able to identify it, number one, and then figure out how to make it work. So that's awesome. That's a good example. I appreciate that. So let me ask you, you guys, let's shift our focus just a little bit to the upcoming 25th anniversary for IAHSP and our conference in Vegas. Can you give us a little sneak peek of what you'll be discussing in your talk without giving it all away? Because we want people to come and hear you live and in person, and what attendees can expect to learn from your.
Absolutely. So it's the presentation is adding STRs to your offerings. So whether you're an interior design firm attending IAHSP conference or a home stager, probably the majority will be home staging. It's a very lucrative approach to adding another leg to your company. In many cases, like, so for 2023, we were about 50-50 on profit. 50% of our revenue came from STR, and it was a huge amount. So it's not something to think, well, if I'm not busy during December, maybe I'll think about it. You may actually, everyone in the group may actually find themselves like, wow, it's a huge moneymaker, and it allows me to be creative. So people that are looking to outlet, to channel that creative side, it's a great proposition.
Yeah, I found too, for me, I'm sorry, Liz.
No, go ahead.
So Louise, sorry. That December was my busiest time of year for short-term rental design, because people are trying to get it up and going and ready for the new year, and also for tax purposes to have a couple of guests in before the new year so they can, get some of that tax break. So that in itself, I've learned, if you're a stager and that is your slower season, this is something you can add for sure, and it really not conflict with that staging side.
Yeah, and that's why we wanted to, when we were asked to talk about STRs, I think it's a great topic for diversification of your staging services, because of that fact. Like, staging is so up and down, up and down, up and down. And it so happens that, like you were saying, like, whenever staging kind of slows down, it's also the low season for vacationers. So that's when all these hosts have free time to kind of come in and revamp their host, refresh. Even if we do like just like a refresh consult, stuff like that, you tailor your services to whatever the needs are. And then that's what our presentation is going to be about. We're going to be touching about, to think about when you're offering these services, what to focus on design-wise, what to focus on as amenities or offerings for your services.
The ideal client will be staying,
and
the
then
property.
how that.
How to qualify that client, maybe? You're going to give us a little edge on that?
Hopefully it'll be a very engaging and, session. So we're looking forward to answering questions and really being there, because what we want it to be the most of is like to be a worthwhile session. We don't want anyone walking out of there saying like, oh, this was a waste of time.
So that's why you're doing it.
So I personally really enjoy the conference circuits, and so I like going to that, but I hate leaving a conference just saying like, oh, it was great, but it was great because of the networking. The networking is always going to be great, but having those presentations and those you really can take something off and ask questions, and we're open about how we do our business. So answering the questions and like that's what we're looking forward, and hopefully it'll be a very well received.
Well, and to me, in conferences, when I get these like profound moments from a presentation, it's like that was worth every penny of what we just spent on the conference. I can take that and make my company 10 times more of what I just paid at this conference. So it's paid for itself instantly.
Exactly.
That you absolutely, you know, take away from the conference, and that's what we wanted to be value added with. So, you know, any of the IHOSP members, you know, if they walk into the conference and by the end of it, if they're like, oh my gosh, you know, I'm going to really start looking into this, you know, maybe I take a training session, Amy. And I really think that could be, you know, a great aspect, you know, for in addition to our company, then it's been something worthwhile to someone.
Well, honestly, that is one of the reasons that you were asked, because I knew, or Jonathan knew, that you guys take what you do very seriously, and you're approachable, you're easy to talk to, but you don't give fluff, right? You give content.
I don't know. We're talkers.
We can be long.
I know, and
what even what you've said here on the talk show is content. I mean, and it's not even at the conference yet. So people who are listening to this will, you know, not want to miss what you're going to actually be talking about in more detail at the conference. So I wanted to remind our viewers and listeners about the 25th anniversary of IHOSP Home 2024, happening in Vegas, in Nevada, from January 26th to 28th. Mitchell and Luis will be there talking and networking and sharing and fellowshipping with everyone as well. You'll get to shake their hand, maybe. So that would be awesome, right?
I'm a hugger, so.
Or hug, consent is required, right? Yeah. So we're very excited about it. The conference is going to be held at the Las Vegas and More Market, formerly known as the Las Vegas World Market Center. They just rebranded to the and More. So you may see that on some of our logos as well. So familiarize yourself with that. And it really is a fantastic opportunity to learn from industry experts right here in front of you, right? And network with them. So make sure to register and be part of the transformative event. We do have some really good content. I'm very proud of the content that we have put together. Along with Mitchell and Luis, we are going to have a 3-hour workshop with Brandon T. Adams with things that you're going to be able to walk away. You're going to be able to do something right then, walk away knowing it's done as well. That will also help boom your business, like Mitchell was saying, 10 times and make it worth the price of admission. I pay for his branding. He's my branding coach. So I know he's worth that and more. I really want to thank you guys for being on the talk show today and sharing your insight. It means a lot to me. And I honestly, I look forward to hearing from you. I've been doing it for a long time. I teach it, but I love hearing other people's experience. I can always learn from someone else myself. That's why I'm not doing it this year. I wanted you guys to do it because I knew you would offer something fresh. And it is such a wonderful service. I love it so much. I stopped staging. So I'm excited that you guys are at 50%.
And you could, we've seen other companies that, you know, have closed their vacant staging and they've just gone on to doing consults and then, you know, just focusing in on the interior design and short-term, mid-term rental aspect because it is a very lucrative avenue.
It really is. So speaking of lucrative, let's kind of shift gears a little bit and talk about the profitability aspect of short-term rental design. How has adding STR design impacted your company's profitability? I know we kind of touched base on this, but in more detail now. Do you find it to be a lucrative venture? Do you feel that it is worth learning and implementing in your business.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Like
1,000%.
Yeah, we like I said before, we have been doing them as interior design jobs, and the problem with interior design jobs sometimes is that you get so caught up in the back and forth with the client, and then if you do hourly, you charge hourly, then you have to kind of justify every single minute of your work, and it gets to the point where you're just like, I want to be done with this, whatever, let's do it. So when we started the staging, the STR outfitting, we knew that we wanted to make it easier for our clients to understand the price. So we did different packages. We've tweaked them over the years, but we kind of build in what we want to make the profit into that.
Yeah.
So whenever at the end of the day, they are paying this amount, and then we are guaranteed to make a profit, which is what we like.
And I mean, I'll just say for viewers, I mean, in many scenarios, like, isn't it great that you could walk away with, $20K and company profit at the end of the day? So, those are the real, those are the live numbers to things.
It depends, obviously, the scope of the project.
Definitely.
You're not making 20K out of each project. But
yes, and it is regional. Clearly, you're not going to get the same price. Even Galveston, let's say you're doing it for New York, although New York's become a little crazy with STRs. But let's say Florida, Galveston, and then let's go all the way over to the West Coast in California. Prices will vary clearly by your market area.
Right.
So, so those fluctuations can be, major in some cases, especially if you're in a very heavily sought after area that your client owns a property at. But, it's clearly a very worthwhile approach to add this to your offerings. And then we found, like, when we structured it in the beginning, like 2019, 2020, when we started doing this, it was, more tailored to interior design. And I was like, we're spinning our wheels, and we have clients that think they know best, but we're truly here as the professional. So we just have and when we started building the structure, it took us a while. This is how we're going to structure it. We're going to package things. We're going to have our base package. We're going to have add-on. We're going to give a no-nonsense price. It is what it is. And if they decide, it's not in our budget, that's plenty okay. We're not the right fit for you. But it wasn't we could take this out and we can tease this off of it. No, we didn't want to make it any more hectic for ourselves, because it is a lot of manpower. So there is that aspect. People need to know, it's not just, I get to make some pretty mood boards and then I'm done. Well, if you're only designing space, absolutely. But if you're if you're doing a full outfitting, there's a lot of manpower and there's a lot of employee work that goes on there.
And also there's a lot of thought behind it, because when you're doing a vacation rental, you have to think, yes, it has to look good, but then you have to think about functionality and durability. So it does become a little bit more busy to do these projects. And because we're a smaller company, we don't have a team of employees, 15, like, to do all this. So we knew going in that for us, this wasn't gonna be like, a 1 week turnaround, 2 week turnaround, because we want to provide good quality items. We're not just going in and buying like cheap stuff out of a thrift store and putting like a lot of
stuff.
I know. Like, that's not my client either.
Because our clients to have something that sets them apart, that wants people to return. And with the market being so saturated now, especially in coastal areas like here in Galveston, then now it's shifted from like, let's do all these Airbnbs. Now it's really like shifting to like which Airbnb is better, which one is gonna last, because now that's like where we come in, and that's kind of the value that we're offering.
Our goal is, when we approach when our clients reach out to us, or potential clients, we want to drive home that, this is to gain and to keep those 5-star reviews. We want clients feeling like they just went on a luxury vacation, and whether that is a small little bungalow or, you know, an additional dwelling off of a primary home that a client is wanting to do, or it's a freestanding beach house right on the ocean. You know, from the smallest to the largest, we want an experience, and that's where we capture our clients' attention, because they look at our offerings and say, "Oh, you're providing performance fabrics, leathers. You're providing marble topped counters on, you know, cabinets, or, you know, we're really just adding the value."
That's very encouraging to hear, because I feel this very same way. Any property could have a luxury experience. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, I'm in a trailer right now in Ohio, working on a short-term rental, and it's good. I did the design so that it wouldn't feel when you're inside that you're in a trailer. It's elevated. So that's very important. And also, it's a whole nother mind shift, because you're in a different industry.
Yeah,
right.
You're not in homesteading real estate anymore. You're in the hospitality industry.
Absolutely.
I always like to make sure that gets said. It's so important to me that it is a complete different mindset change.
Yeah, and we touch base on that in our presentation about the differences between actually offering this STR and MTR service versus a home staging.
Right. Wonderful.
Completely different animals.
Yeah.
The aesthetics, the looks can be very similar in some cases, and others by far different. But yeah, we definitely wanted to make sure we touched base on that with clients and made sure that they understand, like, hey, it's not just I can take my staging furniture and sell it into putting it into an STR. It's not really necessarily the two don't work together in most cases.
100%. I agree. Thank you. You passed. So can you provide some examples of design elements and strategies that I know you have a beautiful brand. So, and I know, but you also make every property unique, because there might be a different demographic. The size of the house might be different, the architecture, the reason why someone would come visit that property versus another property, all those play into that. But do you have design elements or strategies that are particularly effective in STR design, but may not be as relevant in traditional home staging?
Absolutely. So we take each project, it's a blank slate. It's a clean sheet of paper every time we approach a property. We do look at comps in the area. We pull, we'll go to Airbnb, VRBO, we'll go to any kind of listings where we can find the comps in that community, and then we start expanding out from there. And we say, we want this property to be elevated beyond them. So how do we approach that? What properties are garnering these high reviews? Why are they garnering them? So you can go on there and you can look at each of these properties. You can see their reviews that you're receiving, and people may say, "We just love the ambiance of the space. We loved this. We loved that." And what our approach is, we're going to elevate it beyond that. We're going to provide them the best short-term rental, mid-term rental in that neighborhood possible. Because what is that going to do? It's going to drive up their reviews and their full 5-star ratings. It's going to give people that exceptional feel of being on a true luxurious vacation. And again, whether a mobile home or, I've had clients before reach out and say, like, well, I've got a streamline trailer, and they're very popular. And so, how can we make those amazing, whether it's sitting on, a little country lot, with some views in the background, or an urban area in a nice, downtown district of Galveston or Houston.
Right.
But, we've done like garage apartments, like little studios. So it's not always like the $1 million home or like, so, but regardless of it, when we look at it in the design, or when Mitch looks at it in the design aspect,
he accepts the payment.
Yeah, where I come in, I want
stay in your lane.
I'm like comfort. I like, when we travel, I tell Mitch all the time, it's like whenever he kind of runs it by me, it's like, hey, what do you think of this? And it's like, well, is that going to be comfortable? Is that going to be like, so, I like comfort, and that's what I like when I travel. So whenever we started doing this, it's like, well, we're gonna put stuff that we like.
Right.
We would, gravitate towards. So like higher, and then with the design choices, I know that like mentioned it before, like performance fabrics, like easy, uh,
Commercial grade.
Yeah.
like
Washable drapery panels.
Drapery.
I mean, do you know how to
Yes.
touch those?
Yeah, and
I don't want dingy drapes
then when-
in the
when
house
you-
that I'm renting.
And then also like when you
Yeah.
window treatments or like blinds, we don't do anything that has cords on it because
Right.
just a different,
Liability.
yeah, it's a different mindset.
Yeah.
So you have to think about all that.
Absolutely.
Also for the bedding, like the mattress has to be not
Mhm.
too soft, not too
Comfortable.
hard. It has to be like something that is going to appeal for everyone.
Right.
So there's a lot of design elements and factors that
Yeah.
I into, not just
I know there's so many, we can't even cover
Yeah.
them all.
Yeah,
But
and the biggie is like when you hit on it, it's hospitality.
Yeah.
You have to turn your brain into a different aspect. You need to become a little bit more analytical and not just about design. But
yes.
the space needs to be functional. It needs to breathe well. When I say breathe well, it just needs to feel harmonious.
Yeah.
Guest walks in and they just their shoulders just release.
Yeah.
That's what everyone wants when they're being in the
Yes.
hospitality industry.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we really have to look at. So that's again where I touch base on we decided if we're going to offer it, we need to live through it. So let's have our own. Let's do our own short-term rental.
Yes.
Let's learn from this. And so we rolled that out in 19 or 20, kind of along the same time when we started.
Nice.
And thought, how can we say that we are, the professionals, we are the people, we're your go-to people for finding out your space if we don't own one ourselves. So we took that step and we made sure, hey, we have, this is our bread and butter. We do it ourselves and we are very successful at it. We're like Airbnb wise, we're super hosts for years now. And
Congratulations.
absolutely. Yeah. It's
And not everyone can do that. And there's different options. There's the ownership that you're talking about. There's also arbitrage, which I don't know if you're going to touch on that at all. I talk about that in my class, but you don't always have to. It can be something you grow into.
Yeah.
But it is, I also agree. I have two myself. I believe it makes you look better too when you're offering the service to have that in your back pocket. Yeah, I know exactly what you need. I do it myself.
It's almost like, like going to get a CE course or going to get college credits. I would put it in that sense because you have learned through all of the processes. If you own an STR, or if you are doing an arbitrage and have an STR set up, it's just you can look at it with multiple caps. You do design, you do hospitality, you do maintenance. It's all of these aspects, and it can help you understand like, oh, why is it better to purchase, like a solid wood nightstand versus something that's like heavily MDF based? And it's like, well, not every guest is going to set their, coffee or their drink that has a little bit of condensation running down.
Yep.
Those things we have to look at for long term. I don't want a client calling me in 6 months and saying that sofa broke really quickly and now I need to replace it. So, because they're going to look back at me and be like, well, you said it was quality, but it's all falling apart. So that's another why, like you said, we're not the cheapest. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay that I'm not going to please every person out there. But our ideal client is going to get the best service possible, and they're going to love it. As a matter of fact, like, I can't tell you how many short-term rentals we have done, and we have had clients say like, well, now I don't want to rent it because it's nicer.
Yes.
They're like, it looks better than
Can you come to my house? They'll say that too, right?
I know at least 2 have decided we're not going to short-term rent it. It's just going to be our vacation home because I don't want anyone touching anything. It looks like
so that's awesome.
Yeah, and we now offer that with clients because we have people out of Galveston that live in Houston, Dallas, Austin. They call Galveston a weekend home. And I had countless amounts of, clients that say, oh, well, I just want a vacation home and I need you to, design it out, make it look amazing. So we offer the same package where all they basically tell me is the aesthetic they're trying to achieve, and then I run with it. And they're hands off. I provide them a mood board, and then they approve, and then we're going.
Yep. It really is. If you have your systems in place, it can be very easy. It is creating those systems, and there's educational resources to help you so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. I offer one, and there's others out there too. And then we're going to hear from you guys as well. So we'll have that added knowledge and skill set. I have a few more questions, and we'll wrap it up because we're getting close to our time. But thank you for your insight so far. It's on point. I agree with you. And I'm very picky. Because I believe everything that we do can make or break the profitability of our clients as well. Absolutely. Right? The liability, it's just kind of like staging. If you don't stage a house, if you don't do it right, they start subtracting. Right? Mm-hmm. So that takes me to you, Luis, sorry. Oh, it's fine. I didn't have a chance to say it 3 times in my head. Does designing STR help you as a realtor? And if so, what advice would you give to a realtor wanting to work with STR buyers? And Mitch, also feel free to chime in if you want to add anything as well.
So I do work with a lot of investor, like out-of-state clients that are wanting to purchase in Galveston and the surrounding area. So having the knowledge of running an STR,
the local market,
and then knowing the local market, knowing friends, and then having our company that does the outfitting, it doesn't really, it helps with the credibility, with the authority, like, I am the authority in this aspect of it. And then I also kind of refer out work, they want to work with us, they buy the house, and then we will go ahead and outfit for them. They don't even have to come to Texas sometime. So in that aspect, it is an advantage because I do have a little bit more knowledge on the market. But and then we also, with listings, if the staging side, it's a different, but there are advantages of having your own staging company as a listing agent. But it's a great source of referrals, if you want to say. And then also because when other agents know that we have this company and that I'm an agent also, they will refer us, like some of their clients out to me, because they're like, oh yeah, Luis can handle any of that, when they don't necessarily work with investors, and I do.
Well, and it's really, they're looking to Luis as the professional. Hey, he knows, like, he can run numbers on what a nightly rate could be. He knows the neighborhoods here very closely.
Yeah.
So, he looks at all those dynamics, and if if we're approached by an investor, or he is approached by an investor, he has this bevy of data that he's not getting from every agent. Every agent doesn't have this information, nor do they care to. There are agents out there that, it's like, well, it's an investor. I'll show them the house, or I'll do a FaceTime walkthrough, and if they like it, they like it.
Yeah.
But we've had investors say before, like, well, I contacted an agent, and they said, they didn't really know what a nightly rate would be, or how many people it could sleep. And I was like, well, it's kind of a disservice. Think of a real estate agent not being as like, oh, we just bought the car. Think of the maintenance that comes along with it. That's where you keep, you have that retention factor on your clients.
And that's also where we're able to also help our clients when we're designing their STRs. A lot of the time they don't really know Galveston. They don't know, the rate for the people. Everyone goes, oh, you should go to RDNA or like something like that, but that doesn't really tell you much. Galveston is very small, and there are so many STRs here that you can be in the same kind of vicinity, and then your STR is dead, and then the other one is thriving.
And I would call our market the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah,
because there are some good ones, and then there are some bad ones, and there are some real bad.
And because we're always looking at homes, we're always looking at whatever comes in new. We're always up to date on the most updated items. Like spend so much time on the MLS and on Airbnb and like just like doing research,
Mhm.
and that I do the same. So we're
Mhm.
we're fully invested into the market, into our local market, primarily for STRs. But like Mitch said, we are expanding a little bit more and going outside of our Galveston. And we just started working on one in Oklahoma, which is kind of like a little.
So I did one last year in Galveston. I think we
Yeah.
talked about it at conference in February.
Yeah.
And I learned, because I'm not from Galveston. I didn't know you were doing that at the time, so I didn't even know. I probably would have referred it to you. But it's an older community with a, like you said, Victorian. It's kind of, that's very unique about it being a coastal Victorian.
Yeah.
And then of course they have new builds. Are the new builds kind of a blend, or are they more modern?
Yeah, so the architecture on the island is very diverse. So we have homes that range from the 1800s. We have one of the largest concentrations of Victorian homes in the U.S.
So
We
cool.
like in historic district with countless Greek revivals, Queen Anne Victorians. We even have beautiful mid-century modern examples of homes. Oh, they're amazing, and many of them are so intact, it's crazy. I mean, they're right out of an architectural digest. We have craftsman style homes from the early 1900s. So
Wow.
I already talked about the mid-century moderns from the 60s.
Very. And
Yeah.
then the newer builds that are further out on the west side of the island, they're like break builds. So you might see a lot of, if you follow us on social media for a staging, you see that that's a lot of the homes
Stairs.
that we're always going up and down stairs because they're all ready.
Yeah.
Those are typically, they're more like coastal. Some of them can be colonial in style. Some are a little bit more modern. So they have very clean lines. Some of them can be very angular in that modern sense. It is a melting pot of genres for home styles. So that's where we're
we're always
diversity.
Yeah, and we try to be true to the style of the home, and we always cringe a lot when we go into a beautiful historic home, and then we walk inside and we see that everything has been gutted, all the wood has been painted. It's a little sad to us because I feel like it loses so much character, and we love that character. So whenever we work on an older home, we try to maximize that character of the home and then still bring in the modern amenities.
Tell a story.
But keep it true to its timeless appeal. Because a lot of these older homes, that's what they're timeless.
Right.
And we try to like amp it up, still bring it to the modern times, but keep that essence of the character of the home.
And
I love that.
The avatar, that we're looking, or the client that we're looking to.
That's what, for the viewers, avatar is the lingo that we say for home staging, the target demographic, whatever. Avatar is that's what Mitchell's saying.
For your guest.
Talk about that demographic.
Who is your ideal client for your
your guest?
What is client's ideal guest? There we go.
Yes.
So look at those trends, and for Galveston, if it's in the East End historic side of Galveston, we have a lot of avatars that want that piece, that slice of the 1800s, and these they don't want to walk in and it be crazy modern, because they lose that ambiance of that 1800s feel. And so we really have to gear our design to the style of the home and to who we know is going to be renting that space and for what purpose.
Yeah, I mean, we would probably see families renting those.
Can't wait to visit you guys.
Yeah. If we're working on a smaller place, then it would probably be like young couples or like single
overnighters.
Yeah. If we're going out to the further out west, where these are these huge homes, there are families or group of families, or like those are things that we keep in mind, and we kind of can build it into our offering, different packages or add-ons to kind of do it more specific to that ideal guest.
Sorry, did you have one question out? We're probably.
I do. Very little. We're almost done. I promise everybody. Oh wait, there's 3 more pages. Just kidding.
I mean, we can go all day. We like that.
I know. I could talk about this all day too. We could just have my course started at 2 hours. Now it's 5 hours. That's how much I can. So our audience is out there listening to this, and watching and understanding how fascinating the short-term rental design market is. Research plays an incredible role. That's you kind of preaching the research side. I agree 100%. Understanding your avatar, the guest, and how to make them feel like a guest is so important. But I also like to add to that little bit. I want the guests to feel like they're at home too. Like they can let their hair down, if you will, to kick off their shoes and just like melt into the space.
Yes.
That's very important. That's, to me, truly a vacation.
Yeah. And that's why I always tell Mitch whenever he's doing designs, like, assume that people are going to put their feet up on the coffee table. Assume that they're going to drag in like dirt. Because
a lot of assumptions.
Like when you're vacationing, like, you get very respectful guests, but then you get the guests that really don't care about where they're staying. So sometimes it's like, I don't want to he's like, but this is so pretty. And I'm like, yeah, but is it going to be like, is it going to hold up? So those are kind of like the arguments that we sometimes have. And it can be, but
he brings the like couch potato, like loungy aspect. He's like, oh, if I were here, I would probably never use that. I wouldn't like that. I just want to lounge around right here.
Can you lounge?
Right.
That's what I bring it to the table.
Yes. And you can't assume that because they're on vacation, they're not going to be in the house, because they're probably in the house more than they're not because of sleeping, eating, and all that. So, like you said earlier, creating an experience that kind of blends with what they could be doing outside of the house even. I mean, there's so much creativity, and honestly, the more you do it, the more things you learn, and it makes your business even better, because this is an evolutionary role. Like, there's no stagnant in short-term rental design, which I want to add, that's what the beauty of us coming to the Vegas market. I know you have the Dallas market, I have the Atlanta market, but going to the Vegas market, you'll get to see all those trends. You'll be updated on things and elevated and be able to communicate these ideas to your clients. They get excited, don't they, when you bring these, and it could be just like a mural that you're designing for them or something like. They get so excited, and it just creates so much value. All those ideas add value to that property and into your business and your reputation.
Yeah. Well, and the great thing too is, the IAHSP conference, wraps up essentially with, a tour of market. And so all of these presentations that you've heard, let's just say, you took away from our STR, MTR presentation, oh, I'm really going to start offering that. You go to market and you start seeing all the trends, just like you said. You start seeing pricing. You start thinking, well, I can purchase these items. These are the quality of these. You can, touch everything. So, we'll go into market and they start going through that tour. I believe Jenny hosts it, correct? The tour.
Well, we're actually going to have different groups because we can't all go at one time to the same places. So we might I'll talk to Jenny about this. Maybe having a group that might want to focus on short-term rental.
Right.
And take them around and kind of talk on that, because like you said, touching it, checking the density of the fabric, the cushion.
Sitting on it.
Yeah. I mean, like, hey.
How much weight can that chair hold?
I mean, maybe the rest in the showroom gives you a glass of champagne. You know what? Wallow around in that sofa. Act like you're going to be a family member that's, lounging around on that sofa that you potentially acquire for one of your projects. So, it's all about the longevity of items. You want quality over quantity. That's the thing here.
Absolutely.
And then we'll touch base again with that in our presentation. And there are like absolute truths to what we talk about and why we do the things that we do, and it's really just to help someone, like, hey, I haven't thought about it, so this presentation is going to kind of walk them through, like, hey, these are the things you would need to think about, and this is what you would want to do if you start offering this in your services. So it gets the ball rolling for people,
Juicy. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, because really, you're only talking like 45 minutes, right?
Yes.
We've been talking for an hour, and you still haven't. I know there's so much. Yes.
I mean, yeah, you can go on all day long talking about the ins and outs, but we tried to be, not too broad in the spectrum, but enough information that could get you going down the right path within that 45-minute window. We want it to be exciting and we want it to be engaging. I don't want people like turning around, chatting, or walking out of the room thinking like, let me go grab some snacks. I'm not getting anything.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure they won't do that.
With market and wholesale accounts, that is something that since we implemented wholesale, we are able to provide a higher quality of service and make a higher profit.
Well,
because
I'll give you kind of a background on that. So during COVID, it was pulling teeth. Like if we bought anything wholesale, it was like, well, that might come in 6 months. And I'm like, I can't do that. So we were all over in our cars. We would rent vans. I mean, just whatever we could do to find furniture. But thankfully, since we kind of moved out of that and we have availability in manufacturers, because that was intense for us. I mean, I waited 8 custom sofa.
But since we're able to now get wholesale again in a fairly quick turnaround, now we're able to optimize our offerings with higher quality pieces, and since we're purchasing wholesale, we're paying the same or less as if we were paying, the traditional retail value. Much less, but for the quality of the pieces as well.
Oh yeah, so
before we would spend the same money for a cheaper, like quality, less. It wouldn't hold up as well. Now we can get better quality furniture for the same price, so we can or less. So we're making a lot more profit, and our clients are getting better items.
That was definitely a negative side effect of that. I agree with you, and I'm glad that's turned around.
So that was like it was
so painful.
Yeah, so
it was. Yes,
that's the reason why we don't take like super quick turnaround, especially for full outfitting. We will take like ups and stuff like that that are quicker turnaround. But for full outfits, we wouldn't take something that if they want it done in less than a month.
I mean, I've had clients reach out before, potential clients, and say, "Oh, well, I just bought a house and I need you to do it in 2 weeks." And I was like, "Can you do it in 2 weeks? I mean, can you design the entire home?"
I can't design it in 2 weeks. I mean, I can design it in 2 weeks, but I can't do everything in 2 weeks.
Absolutely, yeah.
Logistically, it takes at least 2 weeks at the minimum for things to arrive.
It's crazy. And again, we're a smaller team. We have our movers, so we have to be very we have to plan everything, and then we're still doing our staging. So whenever we have a delay on our install for the SDR, then we're kind of screwed because now we usually block out a week for the installation. But if it gets delayed, then that screws with our timeline, because then we have staging projects that we still have to do, and then we find ourselves working around the clock, and that's not what we want. So it's a lot of moving pieces, and
Absolutely,
it's a lot of work, but it is quite profitable.
Yes, and the reward is there for sure.
It's very worthwhile in the end.
I make way more money than I did in staging, and I've been staging since 2008. So in 2019 myself, I started doing this, and 2022 I said, I'm getting rid of my warehouse keys. That monster is done, and now it has been definitely rewarding. So I want to thank you guys. Thank you for sharing your experiences, your insights in the world of short-term rental, one of my favorite topics. It has been very enlightening for me. I've enjoyed the conversation and your perspective, and I know our viewers and our conference attendees are going to absolutely love it as well. I know without a shadow of a doubt. So this is a very exciting field, and can't think of two more people who can present this field with charisma that it deserves. And I appreciate your willingness to be a part of the conference and IAHSP and to help make it better, because we are for members, by members. And so your contribution is invaluable, like I said. So if you're interested in adding short-term rental design to your services, I do offer a course, and you can get it on our Hive educational platform. But I want to thank you guys, our viewers, for listening and watching today, and maybe in the future, because it's a recording as well. Stay tuned for more exciting episodes, and don't forget to register for Home 2024 conference to explore these topics and more. I can't wait to see you in Vegas.
Thank you.
We'll have fun.
We're excited, and we're excited to be there, and we really appreciate you reaching out to us to do this. So thank you.
Thank you. All right.
See y'all.
Bye.